Good afternoon, everyone. I think we're okay sound-wise. Let me hear. Can everybody hear okay? I don't really... I'll try and see whether I'm going to be able to see comments. But here we are at the first of 3 Facebook Live events. This one is called Surviving Homework, Strategies for Parents of ADHD Kids. So here's our title. And the first thing I would like to say is that the strategy is first to manage oneself. It's your attitude. And then the strategies are what we are actually going to do. And I'm going to actually start up with the story because it's easier than holding up little bits of paper. The story is told by Sarah Hannah Radcliffe, who's a great therapist and educator and author and lecturer. About parenting especially. And she talks about a kid who comes home and then there's this struggle, get the kid at the table and take out your math and bring it, could you please, it's already time. And the kid finally, all right, I'll do you a favor, I'll come to the table. And he opens up his school bag and he takes out his math book and he whams it down on the table and he turns his chair around facing away from the table and he says, there, I've done it. Homework is stupid, school is stupid, everything is stupid, and that's it. He crosses his arms and he slumps in the chair. What shall we do? Would you stop that? How hard can it be? We've got the homework to do. You know what you've got to do. This is just why every night you have to make such a big World War III. Don't you just blah, 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 blah. And it just goes on, and then it turns into a fight, and then this and then that. Obviously, that's not working. And then there's the other parent, the parent we wish we were, that says, okay, Johnny, I see you've got the book. That's fantastic. It's even the right book. All we need to do now is open it up to the right page. What would that do to the conversation? Which parent are we and why? So, one of the problems with my children is that they're a lot smarter than I am. And one time when I was a little bit emotionally dysregulated, I don't even know about what, one of the kids came up with this line. Let's see if I can show this. Right. What's this line? Model the behavior you want us to emulate. Be the kind of person you want us to be. And that's what we have to do, right? Because we have to show who we are. So one of the things this teaches us is our attitude is really extremely important in the success of any enterprise with kids, especially the homework enterprise. So I've got a few attitude tips of my own. I did some research. I found lots of stuff. I didn't really look at anything. I thought, you know what? I'll find great resources and I will just speak from the heart from my experience. The first tip is, and this is what I've learned the hard way along the way, and it's a bit controversial, but I don't know if I can do this. Homework tip number 1, homework doesn't matter. What does that mean? What really does matter? Learning matters, life skills matter, self-controls matter, joy matters, a calm, positive home atmosphere matters. We care about how our child is going to turn out, not whether this homework is done tonight. That's really, really important. Before the child comes home and before we address the homework issue, what is our goal? How do we feel? And one of the things we feel when it comes to homework is if the child doesn't do his homework, he won't do well, and he hasn't been doing well, and if he doesn't do well, he won't do well in high school, or he won't go to college, and he won't get a job, and he'll live in my basement, and I'm just afraid he won't launch. So many young people today don't launch. And our fears about the child's future unconsciously drives our attitude towards this little homework moment tonight. That has to stop. We have to think about what really matters to us and start working towards that. And then homework is just a piece of the puzzle. it becomes a little bit de-stressed. The second piece of attitude, this is the attitude tip section. I've got 3 attitude tips and 3 practical tips I'd like to share. You don't own it. He does. She does. It's their homework. It's not your homework. Wait a second, you're going to say. How does that work? If I don't sit on them and I'm not with them and I'm not breathing down their neck for 2 hours, dragging them through it, it'll never get done. We see this night after night. Well, you may be right. But after a whole day of pressure at school, a kid comes home and now they're going to get a whole 2-hour struggle about doing 20 minutes of homework. Meanwhile, there may be a sibling or another sibling who finds homework relatively easy and just sort of coasts through it, gets it done, gets it signed, and the frustration mounts. So what our goal is that this child should own the homework. But we're going to need other strategies. Sorry for disappearing on you here. We're going to need other strategies to get through that. If I own it, they can't own it. But there'll be more to say about that later. I just don't want to go on very long. Attitude tip number 3. Our goal, progress, not perfection. One of the problems is that the bar is too high. The bar is high at school. So you have a kid with a focusing issue. You have a kid with a learning issue, an emotional or behavioral dysregulation issue. So they're not going to be able to tend. They may be very bright, but they're not going to be able to tend fully to exactly what's going on in class that the teacher's saying and asking and all the exercises that are happening. So what does this mean here? Sorry, I just saw a comment pop up. Progress, not perfection. Let's picture it in the classroom. I used to teach for many years in the classroom, and it's really hard to notice where any given kid is at. You've got a certain bar of behavior. Any kid that's below that bar, they're going to get called out. They may have improved a lot from yesterday to today. You might not notice if you're a classroom teacher. You've got a certain standard for what's called passing a test or getting a B or an A. And if this kid is not passing their test, but they've gone from I didn't write the test to I got a 30 on the test, or they've gone from a 30 to a 47, the teacher might not be calling out that improvement. That's a problem. The kid will say, why should I even try? Same thing at home. Today, it's the shoes and the coat. Tomorrow, maybe the shoes found their place, but the coat didn't. What do we look at? The coat. So the bar is so high, I need the shoes and the coat and the brushing teeth and the washing hands and don't pull the dog's tail and this and that and whatever it all is. And anytime I do one misdemeanor, I'm no good. The bar is too high. I cannot succeed. I won't even try. This is an attitude problem that I have. I, the parent, or I, the teacher, have. And that's not the kid's problem. If the kid was recognized for little wins, the kid would go from win to win. So our goal in the attitude is progress, not perfection. That's attitude tip number 3. Now, I've got a comment. Here's a comment. Isn't homework about teaching kids about responsibility? Doesn't that matter? It sure does. But if I own it from beginning to end, they don't have a chance to fail. Once I've got structures in place, they're in the right place at the right time with the right subject in front of them. And I'm giving them guidance and assistance, especially at the beginning, and let them start. I've done my best to limit distractions, and I know not every home is ideal for that. Then they've got to be able to try to get through it. If they insist on not getting through it, they haven't taken ownership from it. So yes, you teach them the responsibility. Sometimes you have to bring in consequences. What is it that is going to happen for them if they treat homework time properly? What will not happen for them if they don't treat it properly? And with time, hopefully the message gets through. I don't know if that's a full answer, but thank you for your question. Now, a couple of practical tips, 3 of them actually. Practical tip number 1, it's about the welcome home. Whoops, do I know how to do this? It's about the welcome home. You've got to be sunshine. If you're there, whoever is there, there's got to be, yes, there's structure. Yes, things have to go in the right place. No, behavior can't be totally over the top. I understand that. But the main feeling is, like you have a friend that you haven't seen for a long time, and that friend just rang the doorbell and just walked in the door. Oh, hi, I'm so happy to see you. Let me take your coat. Let me get you something to drink. Can I get you anything? Are you comfortable? This, that. You're just making, oh, so what's new with you? How are things going? If your child comes home and is looking forward to seeing you and looking forward to unloading the pressures from their hard day, that is step number 1 in the practical tip to help them be ready that later, when it's time for homework, they're more in the mood for it. They don't have as much to unload. That's practical tip number 1. Practical tip number 2, pre-homework. This is a hard one, but this is what the experts say. No screen time, before homework. No screen time. Practically speaking, what does screen time do against the homework agenda? It basically locks the kid in to an escape modality. It glues them to that screen, getting them off it to do anything else that's going to actually decompress them, like eating, going to the bathroom, interacting with other people, playing with actual stuff with their actual hands, jumping around or running in the backyard or whatever it is, or helping mommy prepare supper or rolling out dough or whatever it is. They will not engage in as good a transition if they're coming from a screen to homework than if they're coming from a real life activity within the home. That's those are the facts of life. And the third practical tip, and that'll end the formal part, I guess, in terms of tips, a routine time and place for where and when homework is done. And one of the routines is the end of homework time. Yes, we need a good place. No, you don't want it where everybody else is. Although some kids thrive when there's a bit of noise around them, others really need it quiet and a little bit set apart. And if it's always at the same time that you start, and it's always the same place, they get into the routine. Routines are really, really precious. And just like there's a routine for start time, there's going to have to be a routine for ending time. Because after that, there's going to be whatever it is, bath, bedtime, read a little bit, whatever the evening routine is in your home, it has to end at a certain time, because guess what? Those unfocused, difficult behaviors can be much, much worse only because of a lack of a good night's sleep. So the bedtime routine is actually really key for the next day's homework routine. It wasn't done, that's okay. Homework doesn't matter. The relationship matters, the kid matters, lots of things matter, but that homework doesn't matter so much to destroy the rest of the routines that the household has and that this child has to support their learning. These are things that I'm sharing with you. I have downloaded a document. I had to purchase it. I could have shared it, but they sell it, so I felt it wasn't right. From Attitude Magazine, ADD, ITUDE, your ADHD Homework Survival Guide. It's about 55 pages. There's a lot of great stuff in here. One of the things is they talk here and there about medication and adjusting doses. A lot of our clients are very much not in favor of medication. They come to Maximind Learning to avoid medication. They don't even want to hear about these tips. But if you bleep over those sections, you'll find a lot of gold right over here. So I am ready for questions. So if you've got any questions or comments, type it in. And I see that I'm going to see it over here on the side of my screen. And I will just close with another anecdote. In 2010, 7 years ago, we launched Maximind Learning with a pilot project in schools. We actually gave it away in 3 schools for 40 children. In one of those schools, we had a lot of pre-post measures. It made a big bang. On maximind.ca, you could see under success stories, you could see our pilot project with the data, and that's how we launched it. It was a very great experience for us all. But one of the things that happened then, it's repeated itself literally hundreds of times, is one of the dads came to me, because I knew him socially. He said, I knew my kid was in this program, but what is he actually doing? Like, I don't even have no clue, because his wife had signed him up. He didn't know. Now we have a family dynamics program. Both, if they're both parents in the home, they both know about what Maximind is. But this dad was the homework guy. So I said, well, what's the story? I told him a little bit about what we do. I said, but why did you come over to me so insistent? You got to know what I'm doing and all of that. Why now all of a sudden? He says, you don't understand. For years, ever since there was homework, this kid, I'd be sitting him down. It was a struggle. He never remembered what happened yesterday. He couldn't remember the vocabulary words for today. He didn't really know what to do or how to do it, and it took forever to do it, and I was chasing him. Now, he's chasing me. He comes to me. He says, look, this is what we did yesterday. This is what I've got today. This is how far I've gotten. Come, Dad, see what I've done. Could you please sign off on it? Can you please do a little bit with me? It's so nice when we do this together. Wow. He was like, I don't get this. But this is a story that repeats itself. I'm saying this here because the struggle for homework time has to do with focusing skills, self-regulation skills, and learning skills. A Maximind brain training course, and yes, I'm promoting Maximind learning, does train those new habits so that when homework time does come, it's a lot shorter. Michelle, I'm going to get at your question in just a minute. I do want to tell one last story, and I am cognizant of the time, but it's only been 15 minutes. Okay, this last story is about a very strange result. It's an unusual kind of result from a Maximind learning course. This was a kid during that same pilot project who was pulled out of school 4 times a week, it was done in the school, pulled out of class, a grade 7 girl, and she was getting Maximind 4 times a week. She didn't want to go. Her parents forced her. That she had attitude. The teacher saw nothing. The principal said, is this really going to help? The parents hadn't seen anything. They got all the way through the Maximind learning course, didn't see results. 2 months after the course was over, I get a phone call from the mom. This was the most incredible experience. I am so grateful. I'm telling everybody that this is what they need to do if their child has a focusing problem. I said, that's wonderful, but I had written this off as the 1 in 10 that isn't going to work. What suddenly happened? She says, I don't know. But 2 months after the course ended, all of a sudden, my daughter comes home with her big fat binder. She was a grade 7 girl. And she opens it up and she's listening to her music and she's flipping from subject to subject and she's getting it done and she's handing me things to sign off on. All I have to do is say homework. I said, what was it like before? It was a 2-hour battle every night since grade 1. That's what it was like before, and that's over. So yes, that's something that we can hope for. It's something that we achieve more often than not. Michelle, if a child isn't realistically going to be able to get all the homework done, how do you convey that homework is important and it's his or her responsibility while at the same time not making them finish it? We struggle with this all the time. Fabulous question. I can say that I don't know, but I can tell you how I would try to implement this, because the how do you convey that it's important and it's their responsibility, but we're cutting them some slack. Progress, not perfection. We kind of track it. Homework time starts at 7 and ends at 8. That's what we're doing. If you want to spend 59 minutes and 30 seconds of it making a struggle, I'm not happy. You had to sit at the table. I'm not backing you up, and you're going to have to face the music with your teacher, and you won't be happy. In addition, I'm tracking whether we're having good days or bad days when it comes to homework time. Maybe once a week, I'm going to send I'm going to either go out with you or I'll send dad out with you, or we'll figure something out. Maybe you'll go bowling. Maybe you'll get an ice cream. Maybe we'll just go on a Slurpee. Well, Slurpees, forget about that. We'll just go on a walk for a healthy snack or something like that. Something special on the weekend because you had a great week. What's called a great week? Instead of getting homework done once, this week you got homework done twice. Progress, not perfection. So they know it's important to you. So important that you're keeping track of how well it's being done day by day. You're reviewing it together. Eventually, that, or maybe from the beginning, that child can be marking that weekly chart. I finished my homework today. I didn't. Check mark, X, or whatever the system is. We could talk more about systems on another occasion. It's not a full answer, and I certainly don't know all the answers, but it's a step in the right direction. Okay, if there are any more questions, this would be a perfect time to put one out there. And if not, thank you very much. You can post some topics for next week, and I'll be very, very happy. Thank you for those likes. I really appreciate that. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Thursday.